all over the world in more than 60 countries. And we do that with partners, of course. And so I'm very pleased that we could, for today's event, partner with the BDI. Heiko Willems and his team are here, and we have managed, I think, to set up a really great panel with experts for a great theme. What we do is that we have a intro from two major experts in the field of European platform economy, and then Heiko Willems will go ahead with the panel. We will do that in a very disciplined way, as it is the manner with BDI and FNF, of course. And we are happy to hear your questions, but that is up to Heiko Willems. From my side, just 2 sentences, maybe 3. Why does FNF take care about platform economy? Well, we always have the long view, and I think what railway was to the 19th century, media and airplanes was for the 20th century. Platform economy maybe is that big changer for the 21st century. And it has aspects which reach out to the public, to the private, to business, to politics, and so it's just natural that we as a political foundation care about the problem. And as I said, we love to do this with partners because this widens our spectrum, and this gives us more insight and more outreach in different networks, and that's why we are here today. And so, without further ado, I would give the floor to my friend Heiko, who introduces everything else, what now follows, and I wish you a good time here in Friedrich Naumann Foundation at Cortenberg 71. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Thomas, and your team for hosting us and for the nice welcome. My name is Heiko Willems. I represent BDI, the Federation of German Industry, mainly manufacturing industry, but also some service providers. And we are happy to organize this event together with the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, especially on this very important topic. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you will not only enjoy the food, but also the food for thought. I think this is a very good place for lunchtime today here. Thank you for joining us. So we are dealing today with digital platforms. The European Platform Revolution is the name of our event. So everybody knows, of course, the big, mainly American, some Chinese marketing platforms, Amazon, Booking.com, and they are extremely successful and popular. The trading volume on the German Amazon platform is 20 billion euros. Was 20 billion euros last year, and 43% of all Germans booked their holiday on internet platforms. So no travel agency, but that's definitely the trend. But the platform economy is more, because it's not only used in the B2C area, but also very much in the B2B area, and that's the point that we want to highlight today. That many companies from various sectors of German industry use platforms and this technology and this media to cooperate. According to a new study from Institut der Deutschen Wirtschaft, which is a partner organization of ours, 70.3% of German companies in industry and industry-related services use digital platforms. So that applies to all size of companies, SMEs, but also the big internationals. And many of these companies, they have their own platform, or they are even a platform, or it's part of their business fields. And there are different applications or different activities in these platforms. The possible range is quite diverse. You have marketplaces, then marketplaces for industry, of course, but also applications for logistics and supply chain management, or the controlling of connected devices in the Internet of Things. And we are starting, so that you understand this environment and this ecosystem, we are starting with the presentation of two of these platforms, one from the chemical industry, the other one from an industrial Internet of Things. And I would like briefly to introduce the two first speakers who will present their platforms. First, Catharina Müller-Buschbaum. She's a chemist and works for Evonik. She has started her industrial career with Evonik Industries in the research and development field, and then acted in different positions in marketing and controlling before she joined the corporate strategy department. And since January 2016, she was part of the founding team of the latest digitalization initiative of Evonik. She is now managing director of Evonik Digital GmbH and will present her activities shortly. And after that, I will directly introduce the second panelist so that we can continue quite quickly. Martin Hoffmann. He studied electrical engineering and information technology, has a PhD in biomedical engineering, and works with ABB. He joined ABB Corporate Research in 2013 and is currently managing the industrial data analytics team in ABB. He is also a member of Platform Industry 4.0 and of course active in the Electronics Industry Association. So then first I would like to ask Müller-Buschbaum to present her platform.
Yes, but this moment of silence I use to introduce our two panel guests who are already here. Svenja Hahn, our MEP from Germany, and Mr. Stengg from the Commission. Give them a warm welcome.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Well, I'm indeed very happy to be here and to present to you our very own approach to B2B marketplace in the chemical industries, namely OneTwoChem. Before I start with that though, I want to say that we're truly honored to have made it into the latest BDI publication on digital B2B platforms because we truly perceive ourselves to be a startup. Nonetheless, I'm really happy and looking forward to share with you what and how we did it, and also why we did it, and what's the status of our current development. Now, OneTwoChem is a platform that's been developed and is provided by Evonik Digital GmbH. We are a subsidiary of Evonik Industries, a specialty chemicals company based in Germany, and as such we are founded to serve Evonik Industries as a vehicle to identify, develop and implement new digital technologies and business strategies focusing on digital business and cognitive solutions. And as such, our unit is given quite a degree of freedom to test out new things, which for example means that we do not necessarily have to integrate our digital solutions into Evonik's IT systems. That also means that we are asked to and are happy to try and adopt methods from the startup scene. And in doing so, try to build up a digital ecosystem, a system of partners that ultimately helps us in the efficient development of effective digital offerings. So in that context of our core business of Evonik Industry and our specific business purpose, OneTwoChem truly is our best practice example. So OneTwoChem right now serves to initiate short to mid-term transactions connecting suppliers and buyers in the chemical industry. So we hope to facilitate an efficient matchmaking and also prospectively offer information that puts suppliers as well as buyers into the position to improve their business. However, that is not how we started out with our development. So true to form, based on like methods that are also used by startups, we started with a very clear hypothesis that was based on a specific need and problem that we had identified in one of our Evonik businesses. And here there was a business that was trying to look for an efficient way to market their production volume surpluses. For that, you need to know that in the chemical industry, we tend to spend most of our marketing and sales efforts on about 20% of our customers that we serve directly, whereas all other customers are usually served via distribution partners. And our production volumes are planned according to these customer groups' demands. Nonetheless, each planning, or inherent to each planning, there is that surpluses do occur. Okay, and a surplus actually creates quite a lot of extra work in our organization, and our salespeople then need to reach out to individual customers via phone or email, trying to find someone who is interested in this product and will take it off our hands, and that is tedious and time consuming. So when we were addressed with this problem, we came up with initially a very simple solution and build a web page that basically mimics a petrol station approach. So a web page that signals to our customers in a drive-by method or drive-by approach availability and price to products. That means we build a web page and registered customers to it that had bought from us in previous times on a similar condition, so spot volume customers. We also included customers that had never bought from us, and we included customers that we had long lost touch with. And on this page, customers of ours could see prices 24/7 for a defined volume, in that case full truckloads of certain chemicals. And if these customers liked the price they saw, they could press a button and were provided a number code, which we treated like an option code. So this number code could then be transferred to a standard order statement in our standard ordering process. So there was no integration into any systems whatsoever, but we had built a simple solution for our business, like for the supply side, to signal to our customers availability without having to contacting each and every one of them individually. And because we are showing actual prices, there was also no further need for negotiation to actually complete a transaction. What did we learn with that? Well, essentially, in our real world, we have very little data. So our SAP or our ERP systems really only report what customer bought at what time and for what price. What we do not record is who called us and had a demand that we could not meet, who called us and had a demand, but our pricing was not attractive. And now we could actually observe the customer behavior. So we could see who was actually looking at that page, who clearly had a demand, and also got a better understanding of what kind of pricing was attractive to them. In the end, we managed to sell more volumes than we had expected. We sold them at higher prices, and we also reached out and sold to customers that had never bought from us before. So customers that we thought had contracted their volumes, like most of our customers, with another supplier. So fundamentally, we learned of new supplies or like new demands. So far, so good. And at the time, we also felt that this situation that we had observed here is not unique to the business that reached out to us, because I myself have worked for different markets or business areas within Evonik and have come across similar supply and demand situations. So we clearly felt this is something that might be a true pain point for at least suppliers in the chemical industry, large chemical suppliers in the chemical industry, and also felt that this is maybe kind of a niche, an unmanaged business where people might feel a little like a larger tendency to maybe try out new things. And the problem with the solution though was that of course it helps the supplier, but it clearly doesn't address the needs of the buyer, because a buyer usually needs several offers, at least 3, to make a decent buying decision. Plus, what we are trying to sell off via that channel is surplus amounts that you do not plan, and no single supplier always has surplus volumes available. So basically, a buyer would go to the webpage and not always be offered prices, and thus probably lose interest soon and not return to the webpage. So we decided to build OneTwoChem because we felt that this pain point was fit to be addressed by a platform approach, because inherently, if there was more suppliers offering the same product under the same conditions, the buyer would be interested and would always find interesting offers and would return to the webpage or be present on the platform, and in turn would be present whenever a supplier actually needed to to have someone notice his offer. Okay, and so what we set out to do was to expand the solution that I've just described to you and basically enable it to be open to third parties and also enable suppliers to offer more than just one product via that channel. The moment we started to discuss that with our own business though, we caused a huge turmoil because just the mere thought that another supplier would use the exact same channel and maybe reach out to the same customer was and is still discomforting. So we do in fact have now on our platform third-party suppliers offering their products, whereas our own businesses refrain from it. Okay. And even more important, of course, the true beauty of our previous approach was that we are actually showing prices, actual prices, you know, to which you can, like the buyer can actually make a buying decision because he was showing the prices, shipped to prices, his exact price on arrival, whatever the chosen date might be. And that, of course, caused a lot of concern anyways. And based on that, we decided that we had to develop a unique set of features that basically enables a business or a supplier and a buyer to exchange very specific offerings without creating any transparency whatsoever. And this is where technology comes into play. So we developed something that we call a closed cabinet solution, which is a technical solution to build up a secure one-to-one relationship or communication channel on this platform. Because on OneTwoChem, each and every user specifically decides himself whom he wants to get in touch with, and buyers and suppliers need to accept each other's invitation, similar to a Facebook invitation, before they can actually exchange on demands and offerings. This development was carried out in cooperation with our external development partner and service provider. It's Big Picture, a digital agency that is situated in Berlin. And we used all these methods such as design thinking and Scrum, teamwork for rapid experimentation of our basic hypothesis, and then obviously you know, to pivot those and then to iterate them further based on our user feedback. By using this external service partner, we also had the means to make use of his very extensive network of specialists, and that doesn't only apply to software development, but also to the design, obviously, of the user journey, and that is for both buyer and seller, and also the tone of voice of this whole platform approach. And in the development of this platform, we also made one other rather unusual decision, because we made our lawyer, a team member of Evonik Digital, the product owner of the product, of the platform. Because quite frankly, having a legal competency involved in the actual process of an agile development saves you loads of time, because everything is moving ahead all the time, and everything is kind of dependent on each other. And this is not only true when you're writing up your own terms and conditions, or if you actually then face setting up an operational model that ensures antitrust compliance, which of course we had to do here. So the feature that I just referred to is now our hosting and operating the platform to ensure antitrust compliance, and we are the provider. Okay. And well, so basically with this page I wanted to say that we try to bring together everything that you need to bring about a platform approach that is resources, competencies, and technology. The platform has gone live in the quarter of 2018. However, that means we've gone live with a friendly user face, you know, inviting selected third parties as well as our and their customers to test the platform, to give us, you know, room and space to really test our assumptions and also work on the development of additional functionalities. We're still in that test phase, which might seem very long, but as a matter of fact, you need not only qualitative but also quantitative feedback for an efficient development, and that is not that easy actually to come by. And so now that I've told you what we have done, I'd like to just share a couple of other learnings with you that we have made along our journey. If you look at the different marketplace offerings that are out there now in the chemical industry in Germany, you might think that the revolution is just about to happen. But as a matter of fact, judging by the adoption, you could think that the chemical industry is not, in fact, interested in these kind of offerings, that these offerings are not yet really serving a real need. And that is true for our platform as well. People are very hesitant to use that, but you need to consider that the chemical industry in Germany has done rather well in these last years, okay? So maybe the mere thought of potential future efficiency gains, network effects, is right now probably not enough of an incentive to actually move one's business to another alternative competing channel, because that's exactly how we are being perceived. In the chemical industry, there's no supply-demand gap, okay? So whenever you're testing out a new supply channel, you have to, like you're competing with another, and you're basically also damaging potentially your partnerships with your distribution partner or your existing customer relationships. Usually there's no transparency there, so people avoid taking decisions, and we are rather risk averse. On top of that, when you're offered platform offering right now, by nature, none of them are yet integrated into the systems. It's not like we don't all think about this, how to make sure that it's as easy as possible for a supplier to upload information and to operate a platform, same as for the buyer. But obviously that is costly, and we all have different legacy systems. So that is like the technology, to make sure that all of this is seamlessly integratable is not trivial. Nonetheless, we all believe that there is, of course, inefficiencies in the supply chain network. They will not be easy to capture, because parts of those, or large parts of those, are actually based on the inefficiency of the internal processes that can hardly, or only unlikely be addressed by an external platform. And however, one of these days, probably something like that's going to happen. We, with our own development, try to help Evonik in that case, but also others, to prepare for this change that we think is going to happen one of these days, to put them in the position to leverage the potential efficiency gains and also adapt their own processes to actually, interact with those platforms in general. And with all that we have done, we believe that, of course, you need supply and demand on your platform, but you also need technology. However, also with some of the functionalities that we have tested, we have learned that it doesn't pay off to think ahead too far. Right now, our processes are very sticky, even though they might be inefficient. So whatever you do, you need to make sure that that you can integrate it as seamless as possible, and that you're not asking people to change the standard processes too much, because that is just creating extra work, and probably that hurdle is just too high for most of the people to actually start adopting your approach. And that's basically the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Müller-Buschbaum. I would then like to ask Hoffman to present his platform, and then we can get into the discussion.
Good. So now you've seen a very agile startup. I will talk now more from the position of this large, big corporate. I think where things work slightly different in a platform perspective. So my name is Hoffman. I work at corporate research from ABB, and the Ability platform was initially started. They basically had their nucleus in our research center, and that's I think one of the reasons why I'm here. So ABB very quickly is a conglomerate of businesses. We have roughly 110,000 employees currently worldwide, and do I think something between 30 and 40 billion US dollars revenue or turnover per year. We have solutions coming from industry, manufacturing, process industry, mainly automation, but also electrification. We're the world leader in fast charging stations for electrical vehicles, for example. And if you now think that you need a platform that actually covers all of that, it puts you into some challenges, right? So very quickly what we see, the problem that we really see that we need to tackle, or why we think that a platform can actually help us to tackle, is that we see that the manufacturing industry is changing. We're changing from a linear value chain, and basically I always say we sell boxes, and we were very good at that, and we still are very good at that, right? If you call us and you want a robot, we put the robot in a box, we sell it to you, everything's fine, right? We're super good at that, and we're very good in buying boxes, and it's all very linear. And now what we see is that Actually, everything's growing together in more business ecosystem. And in these business ecosystems, you actually deal with more partners. And especially if you go into software business or data-driven analytics business, you actually need far more players in there. And I will try to highlight that in my talk a little bit. So we see here the single factory that was formerly our customer, right? It was part of probably another larger corporate. But now they are probably working together with multiple factories. They share data, for example, for quality reasons, things like this. They have all the assets in there. They have suppliers. They talk to their energy suppliers to get the grid stable. They talk more about logistics because that's mainly changing. But they also talk about the customers and consumers, very similar to the chemical industry, right? Where also the buying behavior changes. And the interesting thing is that is not static. But that actually, our customers go through a complete life cycle with the products that we sell them. So this digitalization and platform business actually starts, we always say digital commerce, right? This is when you try to build up a new factory or you want to change your factory independent. If it's a process plant or normal manufacturing or a discrete manufacturing plant. You do a whole lot of things currently already digital, then you move into how you design it. You can use augmented reality, basically build up the plant completely offline before really having it physically, and then you go into operations. And most people think about platforms only for operations, right? And that's a major part. But actually, we see that all of the life cycle phases are interconnected, and you need the same type of data throughout these phases. Now, what is our platform? Very briefly, our platform is actually just a means to an end for us. So the platform you see basically is here, this bar, right? But for us, ABB-Ability, we cover our complete digital offering under that name. Why are we doing that? Because the platform produces costs. No one will pay us for that, because no one needs that. Everyone wants solutions, because that's what the customers are willing to pay for. And the only reason why we go for a platform is because we will be faster and more efficient delivering these digital solutions to our customers. So that was our reasoning to say, look, we build a platform, and because we are so big and maybe slightly late compared to our biggest competitors, we thought, okay, we can catch up by just partnering. So we partnered up, first of all, with Microsoft. So we built our platform on Azure, and not because we like their data centers or they're more beautiful or more green than others, but basically because by the time Microsoft's Azure was the one platform as a service provider that actually had the best services running on that for data collection, data management, data retrieval, data analytics, things like this. So that was the reason why we chose Microsoft. And then we partnered with IBM to get more competences in AI and also get access to more data sources, external data sources like weather forecasts, for example. We partnered with the Dassault Systems for digital twin. We see that especially important if we go through the complete life cycle of a product, right? Because the life cycle of a plant really starts with a digital twin of the computer before you even make the buying decision from which supplier you will buy. And Dassault Systems is just way ahead of everyone else, and that's a very good combination. And now we partnered with Hewlett-Packard Enterprises for edge computing, because the trend that we see is currently, okay, everything now moved into the cloud, but now actually computational capacity will go back to the edge, to small data centers that are fairly cheap, don't use a lot of energy, and you will actually do a lot of computation, a lot of data storage actually on site. And this is one of the biggest customer demands that we had. When we went out and said, look, we do cloud platform based on Microsoft Azure, the first response of our friendly customers was, can we do that on edge, right? Can we do that on premise? We don't want the data to leave our customer side. And yes, you can do that, but by that time it was probably an 8-digit number to pay for it. And then most of the customers said, I don't want to spend tens of millions just, have the computing facility to actually run your platform. So with HPE, we really now see that that actually makes sense for us to offer that. Now, if we look at the business mechanisms behind that, it's actually quite interesting. You saw 3 of our partners, but we actually now consider all of our customers to be partners. Because if we ever want to give them a solution, it's basically based on the data that they have and their own. And we need to get access to that also for R&D, but mainly also for the delivery of that. So customers will become partners, and you will have this whole network. You will have telco providers, you will have cloud providers, machine builders. You also will have the regulators. And the interesting thing about this ecosystem is that they will only be successful if every single participant of that will be successful, right? If one drops out, the whole system collapses. And this is actually quite nice because they could also be your competitor in here, very similar, I think, to the case that we heard before, right? So you also need to onboard your competitors because then actually your own ecosystem will be more successful. And coming to the first example that I would like to show you is I need to introduce a methodology that comes from ZVI, from the German Association of Electrical Companies, and also McKinsey. And we developed that to show you where the platform actually lies in the value chain. So if you look technology-wise at a platform for the industrial Internet of Things, you basically have the platform in the middle and you have an application layer and a user interface on top of it. That's usually what generates value. And this is how the value is delivered. But below that you have the more traditional systems, right? You have some hardware with sensors, you have some kind of operating system on that, usually the automation system, and then you have some connectivity to it where also the edge would go about. And if we now look at one of our favorite we sell boxes example is robots. So we sell a lot of robots. I'm not sure if you can see that. There are a lot of robots working on a car body actually in that sense. And if you now look how we are implementing that with the platform is we're a so-called vertical player. That it's a vertical digital offering because we basically cover everything from the user interface down to the hardware. For one exception, that's the connectivity, and I will explain you a little bit why. So on the hardware side, we still have the robots, right? They didn't change. The only thing that they changed is that they now give out the data that they previously just used internally. Our operating system on these robots is called robotware. You don't need to remember that. And then we have connectivity, and we either go over the network of the customer. That's why the customer becomes a partner, right? Without them, we wouldn't get access to the data. Or we have an external partner with a 3G connection, right? We are not a telecommunication carrier, so we need someone else to do it. And then actually the data gets into our ABB-Ability-Platform, and we basically only use that because for us it's easier to have applications running on that and actually maintaining them and rolling them out. And then the user can actually access the results of these applications over a web interface, which is called ABB-Ability My Robot. You can also have that as an app. But that's basically what you're used to, right? That's what you see as the customer, and the rest you don't see. And why am I showing this? Because this is very prototypical for a lot of Internet of Things platforms that are out there. They're basically vertical offerings. It's more the traditional way. But if you have something like this, I mean, we are not operating in a vacuum, right? So we may have the manufacturer using our ABB-Ability solutions, but they have several other assets and also suppliers, right? So this is again the platform. These are the apps that are running on that, and we actually see that the apps need to communicate with each other to exchange data, knowledge, results. But we also see that more and more customers are interested in running their own clouds. That's also one of the trends from having edge data centers becoming cheaper. And we need to actually communicate with them. So we need some kind of standardized data protocol, information models, a standardized way to exchange data. And we also see that these customers will then have either another platform from another supplier, or we will have third parties running on different platforms. I took Amazon, but just by accident, could be anyone here. And there you could, for example, have a weather forecast to, for example, solve a use case where you say I have a very energy demanding production, and I only want to produce if there's a lot of energy excess in Europe. And I will get this forecast from someone else because we as ABB will not do it, the customer will not do it, but there's an expert to it that we actually need to connect to. So we see we actually need to be open, although the platform for us is not an open platform per se, but it's a means to an end basically for us. There are several basic requirements coming from that, that if you want to have different platforms working together, and I will not read all of them, but one of the things is really that you need to be secure because you build up actually a trust relationship with your customers over a couple of decades, and then all of a sudden you go into digital and you really don't want to lose this trust or jeopardize this trust issue there. And one thing that you might say, this is all very complicated because I know from Amazon and Facebook, whatever, right? It's one single platform. It's super easy. And yes, it is, but it's not an industry. And one of the main differences, there are a lot of differences, but this is really what I,